So my presentation is more about how to involve the local people to this topic. So I briefly start with something which mentioned Lenka before me, and it's something which is called general economic interest, and it's something like a nice naming of state aid. So every consumer of electricity has to pay the tariff for the system operation, and because of this, the electricity is expensive, and mainly from business sector this is criticized. This is on government decision to do this. It has some rules on EU level, and in 2013 government confirmed this in Slovakia for our region until 2030. So it's mandatory for the power plant company to use the homemade lignite for producing electricity, and it's all about huge money, more than 100 million euro per year. Because of this, many other big business players were all the time saying it's not a good social program, but our government joined this to their politics, and the prime minister said directly that it's a social exploitation, and people in the region feel certainty, and there was no topic to finish this. But then comes a very turbulent year 2017. First, on the beginning of this year, started mines using old block of the power plant like alternative burning unit, and there were not standards for air quality. They tested some chemical way to reduce the emissions, and this comes with a big response of public, and this was because it was in winter and bad quality of air. And the second, what was happening was EIA process for new mining field, conflict between mine and SPA. SPA is using the thermal water for healing the people, and they had saying that this can negatively affect the water, and they can lost it. Third, very important thing was that started investigation of this financial mechanism by European Commission, and there was a possibility this will be noted like illegal state aid. And because of this, Minister of Economy started to very slowly talking about option to shorten this deadline until 2030. But they were talking about we need the roadmap, but not made some steps to do this. And later we get information that in this time were some meetings with the European Commission, but they were behind the closed doors, and we, like local leaders, were not invited. And on the European level, started in this year a platform called for coal regions in transition, and our region, our country, is became one of 4 pilot regions. So this made pressure for some processes. in the beginning of the year, these signals come to us, to city, and we were talking what we can do, and then we said, okay, we will not close eyes and pretend that nothing is happening. And our mayor made a press conference on Central Square. She taken uniform of miners and made appeal to start responsible discussion about future. This was before this something like taboo. The mine was for the people certainty, but we call this event Let's Mine Out from Uncertainty, because the signals were that this business will be finishing in some years, and people pretended nothing is happening. So we started to talk about main arguments why we think that something is coming, and that was at first the Paris Agreement and climate goals that Slovak Republic approved. Then this issue with possible illegal indirect state aid. Then we opened discussion about health benefits we can achieve by finishing mines. And yeah, we talked about investment which were needed in power plant to continue until year 2021 or 2023 because of new EU legislation for emissions. So this was the first kickoff. It was something like breaking the taboo, and many people were a little bit not understanding what's happening, because it was really not common that mayor will start so clearly about this topic. Then we wanted to continue in this discussion, so we made a roundtable about the future of Upper Nitra. This was the name, and we wanted to start discussion with government and with other actors about the situation and about the future, but mining company not come to this event, and state administration from ministries also ignored this event. But from the locals, it was about 50 people, and from various companies, cities, NGOs, from European Commission in Slovakia. So this event, I think, was very good and moved the discussion somewhere. After the event, our mayor sent a letter to Prime Minister with some results we talked about. Then the next step was a discussion on the level of Association of Towns and Villages, and we managed to convince the mayors that this is important, and when the government only is talking about the roadmap, we will start some work preparing this strategy from the bottom. So in January 2018, we started this, made 4 working groups, and later this was like stone for the expert of something like starting point for preparing the strategy. So we had 4 groups, like most important things we wanted to deal with: economy, transportation, tourism, because our region has many attractivities, and this has a good potential. And then something like social infrastructure. So okay, we tried to transfer experience from the project of the government. This was the support of underdeveloped districts in Slovakia. It's more than 15. And they were doing something a little bit similar, creating action plans, defining the projects, and then financing and improving the region. So we called the government representative from this project to our event and tried to share the way how they were working. Okay, we have some. Okay, I must go quickly. So the principle was inviting everyone on board, not made barriers to work together with us, and it was really open to be involved, to send email, and wanted to work in that group. And number of stakeholders grew up quickly when this topic was opened at national level. Many people started to be interested because they heard that some EU money will be in the game. So how we worked, we had
just a quick question before that. So I'm not sure. I guess the mining the miners also have trade unions in the region, right?
Yes.
How were they involved? Were they also among those initial groups that were involved, or how did they?
In this phase, they were not working with us. Later, when it was covered from national level, then they were important partner to talk with. But in these groups, they were not working with us. Okay, so these are the questions from our debates. It was like brainstorming, and the result was something like a wish list or some analysis of the starting point and some ideas what we can do, what we want and don't want in the region, and what are the barriers to have this. And this was great because people from the region were feeling involved, and they were in this process, can talk to this, can say something, and this was very fine. So that's all from me, and maybe if you have some question, I will try to respond.
There was a question which was why were you not cooperating with the Greens in Slovakia? I'm not sure if sorry. It was still the question about the trade unions. Do you know why, as you said, initially the mining trade unions were not cooperating in the beginning? Do you know why that was?
Yeah, it's a political question. It was like taboo to talk about the future, and for these people was in this time this not topic, because they were pretending that support will be until 2030 and we must not to do anything.
Okay,
but, so this was the reason, and yes, this trade union by us are very under under pressure of the mining company. They are not working separately or against the company issues.
Mm-hmm. So one issue was that there was the message from the local level was different from the message that the government was giving, and that was one of the reasons why they didn't think that this is something that they should work with, right?
Yeah, but later this initiative from national level and from regional level joined together. It was good
Mm-hmm.
result, we can say. So yeah, on the national level later comes the task to make this strategy, and this beginning activity was a good starting point for this.
Mm-hmm. I think we have time for one more question, and I think this question is a very good one. So if you could go back in time and do something differently, what would you do differently now that you know what happened?
Good question. I think we like city and people in the region made not mistake, and maybe problem was on the national level that from the beginning when was the decision to make this strategy until it was finished, it took very long time, more than 1.5 years. And it was not because this process needed this time, but it was because of politics. So this was a later problem because people wanted to see some result. We were talking more than 1 year about some action plan, but it was not on the table, and this was a little bit fail.
Okay, so one thing to keep in mind is that this process of putting the plan together should not go on for too long, because then people get tired and anxious and want to see the result.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I